about is from my experience. I also want to take the time to thank you for being able to take the time out of your day to find out more about wellness. That's the one thing with wellness is it's an action. And Raul mentioned this earlier, and I love that he said that. We actually have to be conscious about doing it and making the efforts. As high executive people that I work with and sports therapists, they all talk about the same thing and how the mentality is everything. So a little bit about myself is I've been a therapist for 17 years, working in all fields with professionals, C-levels, and professional athletes. Working for this many times, I've been able to work with a lot of great individuals, from chiropractors to physical therapists to nutritionists, and I'm going to share a lot of this knowledge with you. So the 3 points we're going to talk about today is working from home. We're going to talk about the 2 most common ailments that I've seen in my almost 2 decades of work, the neck and the back, and why these are big issues in the body and what we can do to alleviate that. So I'm going to show you some exercises and techniques to work on that. All right, so let's get started. One thing I want to say is if you can get a broom and a chair is something we're going to need. This is going to be very active, so I encourage you guys to participate. If you have any questions, type it in. I'll try to go as detailed as I can and explain in detail what I'm going to be doing. So let's talk about a little bit the work from home environment. One of the things now, especially in the last month, is paying attention to where people are working and how clean your station is. One thing that's really important is keeping your station clean. Clarity is key, and doing that maximizes your potential. Making sure that also you have maybe another area or two, because right now we got another month of working from home. So being able to take time and find maybe 2 other locations in your house, or as the weather gets better, working from outside. It'll benefit you a lot to kind of change up the scenery, calm you down, so you're not always knowing that you're going to work in one specific location. And the other key thing, being a therapist, I always talk about the muscles. That's one thing I talk about the most, and one of the best things is hydration. Hydration is so key to being able to keep you hydrated and functional. Dehydration will get you stiff and achy. So if you're that person that's always rubbing their neck, getting up and complaining about that sore back, hydration can play a huge part in that. One thing that I've learned over my career is a lot of these ailments are things we start to inflict on ourselves. Over 17 years, 80% of the people that I work with, I found out that they developed that aches and pains through 2 things, either repetition or posture. The repetitive things we do and the postural positions we put ourselves in. And working from home, the posture is the big thing. And this is what we're going to be focusing on talking about, because the posture from how we stand, how we sit, and how we sleep make a big impact on how we feel. So another couple things, I wrote some notes down. This is usually an hour session. I'm going to cut it down, break it down, and make sure you guys get the most effective information. Other things, when you are working from home, making sure you optimize your position. So another thing is posture. And that's when you're sitting for long periods of time. You want to make sure, I'm going to go here into the chair. You're in here. And one of the areas that with the spine is the neck and the low back. We call that flexible spine. Flexible spine means we're able to move it, twist it. So we want to make sure that we put those body positions in the right form. So one way we do that is we pay attention to a few things. So I'm going to work my way from the top down. And I want you to, a lot of things are gonna click once you start hearing this, because working in chairs, working from home, working at the office, we're in a seated position for long periods of time. So a chair can actually be your enemy. So I'm going to show you a couple things that will really benefit you in the long run. So when you are sitting, one of the first things is if you have one of the work desks, lock that chair. You don't want to recline back. One of the things with reclining back is you're going to create that forward head posture that's really going to, over time, aggravate you and create a lot of misalignments that will cause pain. So that forward head posture, or we call it tech neck, meaning when you're working and you're too relaxed, for example, also on a couch and a bed, those are big things that will hurt you in the long run. So those are big don'ts. Because as you slouch, what's going to happen? You're going to be in this position, or you recline back, you're going to be in this position. The key to it is locking that chair, keeping it stable, position yourself mid to edge of the chair. Hold yourself up there. What this does, it activates that core. Again, the lower back is flexible. So the only thing that supports that is your muscular system. So when you sit, the first thing that deactivates is your abdomen. So you relax and boom, all the stress goes up the back. You can actually alter by sitting up, mid to edge of the chair, just like that. Positioning. Right away, everything starts to get aligned. And alignment is key. Alignment is so important because over time, I hear this all the time, and this is how I know this is something you've created or aches and pains you've developed on yourself, is there's no reason why you haven't. That small 20% is either from trauma or something genetic. But that's a very small portion of injuries and issues I see. A big part is, how we position our body, how we sleep, and so being able to hold your body up, this keeps everything aligned. Avoiding that forward posture and taking those breaks. Breaks are huge. Breaks are really important because you want to take the time to get up and move. Stiffness gets created through, again, lack of movement or too much movement. There has to be a good balance between the two. If not, you're going to ache. And I see this all the time, shoulder aches, back aches, and it will create havoc on the body. And so being able to be aware of these positions makes a huge impact. Another thing is shoulders, right? When we're working for a long period of time, what happens? Our shoulders come up, our elbows come up, and an hour or two later, 3 hours, we're in that position. We develop all this stress that is not necessary. So being able to, every so often, hour to 2 hours, pay attention, drop those shoulders, bring the head up. And one of the best stretches that I teach for the neck is very simple. And you can do this right now at your chair. Sit up nice and straight. Hold yourself up with, let's say, your right hand. Go ahead and try to grab onto that chair. Hold onto that chair and gradually start bringing your head to your side. What this is going to do is going to really decrease the tension in that shoulder, really open up that neck, and bring it back. In stretching, there's 3 movements. There's the stretch, the tension, and then the pain. You never want to go into pain. One of the biggest things is consistency. If you have consistency, you will see the benefits. People that wait till the end of the week or, do it once a week for an hour, that doesn't make an impact. But consistency does. I tell people to do this consistently. Get there when you sit up, when you feel you're punched up, get up, sit up, and stretch that neck. Just like that. I'm a huge fan of more repetition, less hold. So you want to do that stretch, hold, 1, 2, 3, back, and again, 1, 2, 3. Other side. What this is also doing by holding, it's isolating the shoulder to stay down. Because as we build up that tension, all that's going to happen if we do it without holding, we're just going to bring it like this and bring it down. A lot of cases I've seen with headache come from the neck region because we position it in such stressful positions, especially if we're doing technology now, where we're always looking down on our cell phone or on tablets, is by leaning your head forward, you're creating so much tension to support the head. Your head weighs about 18 to 20 pounds. So the more you're leaning forward, the more you're adding stress, adding additional stress to those shoulders, stress that doesn't need to be added there. So being able to bring that tablet up, that cell phone up, put it on the table, bring it up and hold it up, work that way. Paying attention to these things make a huge difference. So being able to also hold yourself, chin tucks, tuck that chin, open that neck. These all are big cues and awareness to body position. People who have headaches also too, sleeping can be a big contributor to that. A lot of times people like to sleep on their side. And if you look at it, when you're sleeping on your side, what are you doing? And especially if you're sleeping always on the same side, you're accumulating that tension. And a huge contributor to tension headaches or migraines is just muscular imbalance. The tension you create to one side. And then what happens is you get up and you're trying to function, but a lot of times these muscles don't fully go back because that tension that you build up, without alleviating, it's going to stay there. And so now these movements are going to create more stiffness. And with the function of a day, we're creating all these stressful movements on it, which automatically, and you'll see it all the time. I see it all the time. Midday to end of the day, boom, headache, tension headache, migraine clicks in. You know, there's no real cure to some of these, but there's a lot of preventive actions that you can take for them. Another advanced part to that neck stretch is when you are stretching that neck, and again, keeping that proper alignment, holding that chair, bringing it to the side, is you can actually bring the head forward and you can bring the head back. And this will stretch different parts and different muscles of the neck region to really make sure you can open that area up, keep the tension out, and avoid a lot of these issues and aches and pains. All right. And one of the worst positions to be in when you're sleeping is on your stomach. So this is one thing I like to talk to people about because it does play an impact on what happens when you sleep and how you feel the next day. I'm a huge fan of evening stretching. Keep it simple, keep it easy. It's so important to be able to do these in synergy with your day. You don't want to add too much. Keep it to about 2 or 3, again, minimal time, but the consistency is what makes the impact. Because how you go to sleep, especially if you're having trouble sleeping, you know, you're overthinking, you're doing too much, and what do? Just drop into bed and position yourself however you are. And what happens in the morning? You wake up achy, painful, stiff, and you haven't taken the time to take care of yourself prior to optimize and perform better the next day. Everything is like a snowball effect. What you do now affects what happens later. And so being able to pay attention to those positions, one of the worst positions, I'm sorry, is sleeping on your stomach. Because what does that do? It creates your neck turn totally to one side. A lot of times our stomach sinks in and we tend to hike one leg up. So now you see all these muscular imbalances coming in the neck, coming in the back, and then coming in the hip region. And so a lot of times, a lot of these aches and pains will happen till later on in the day, because when we wake up, we're not going to be in pain. But once we get functioning and moving, these things are really going to start to aggravate. Boom, the afternoon, we feel it. End of the day, we're exhausted, tired. We probably haven't drank enough water. And so these will create a big impact on how you feel. And then snowball. You're going to have a bad night's sleep, wake up cranky. You're going to pound the coffee. Coffee and alcohol dehydrates your body. So there's a rule in hydration with caffeine and alcohol. It's for every alcohol, you got to drink two glasses of water. You know, there's only so much water you can drink before it affects you at night and you have these restrooms. So making sure you hydrate yourself as much as you can, keeping your body supple, making sure you optimize those stretches and movements. So if you haven't grabbed your broomstick, grab it now. I'm going to show you how to open up that chest. Sleeping on your side contributes to also rounding of the shoulders. A lot of times people complain about their shoulders rolling and how they feel hunched over like this. One of the main reasons, not just working, but sleeping on your side. Your side sleeper, what you're doing is you're heaving in your chest. So you want to position yourself well and keep those shoulders positioned well. So the ideal position is on your back. Unfortunately, on your back facing up, because this is the most optimal position to be in, being able to stay aligned. One of the toughest things is if you snore, you want to make sure you elevate your body. You know, now they have wedges, they have cushions, additional pedals that can benefit you as well. But just working on it is key. So if you're a side sleeper, stomach sleeper, baby steps. Baby steps is so important. Being able to wedge yourself. So if you're a stomach sleeper, start wedging yourself to position your neck a little bit better. All right. So you got your broomstick. You know, I like to use some handy stuff around the house. Broomsticks are great. What you're gonna do is you're gonna bring that broomstick around your back, or you know, mop stick, whatever it may be. You're gonna get it in the crooks of your elbow, just like this. Hold it in there, just like that. This already starts to improve posture. You can do this at home anytime. Bring the arms out, if you can, holding onto the stick. If not, this is just a good position in itself. Holding the palms out. And then what you can do is activate the shoulder blades and open up the chest. So as you squeeze, this is a great way just to activate the shoulders and open the chest, improving posture and helping you open up as much as you can throughout the day. Again, you don't want to accumulate that tension and stress, because then what happens at the end of the day, you're holding yourself like this, in that roundness of the back. You know, there's something called hypertrichosis. A lot of people get scared with that because they hear this technical term, but hypertrichosis is just extreme rounding in the back. It's not a disease, it's just what they call it. But that's all preventable from posture and being aware of it, but constantly paying attention to it. Because over time, it gets more and more difficult to straighten up. If that rounding back, if the abdomen's relaxed too much, all that stress accumulates in the back. Now we've created so much tension and stress that it is very hard to go back to it. So the more awareness you have, the sooner you can pay attention to that, it will make a big difference. So now we're going to go into the hips, because the hips play a big part in the back. The tighter the hips, the tighter the back. So keeping the hip mobility is really important. So one of the easiest ways to do it, again, you're in your chair, cross your leg, foot right over the knee, if you can. If it's not too difficult, just come down a little bit lower down. This is a good start. You should not feel any pain in the knee. Mark it wherever you like. Ideally, you want to put it right on top of your knee. And what you're going to do from here is, again, pick up the posture and lean forward. You're going to feel that in the hip. You don't have to go too far, just subtle. This, you're going to come up. See? Put, lean forward, and lean forward just like that. This is really going to help open up those hips. And then do the other side. What you're going to notice with that is you're definitely going to be tighter on one side. I am always tighter on my left, I do a lot on my left. And so, again, I'm focusing, you can hold on to it if that you feel better with that, consistently holding that in that position, and then leaning forward, just like that. And you'll feel it. But the key, again, is creating this balance back in your body. Because as soon as you know it, you know, you're leaning always to one side, you're tripping always on one side, and that's a sign of imbalance. And the hips are a key contributor to keeping the lower body stable, balanced. And so now we're going to go into the lower body. And this is a very simple one. You can hold yourself up here. How much time we got? You can hold yourself up just like this. Stand up. Everybody want to stand up? What you're going to do, position yourself like this. This is going to work on the calves, feet, and hamstrings, and get into that hip as well. Literally point your toe up, see me here. Straighten up your body and reach down for the toe. Wherever you start, you're going to start to feel it, that's where you want to go. Remember, you're not supposed to feel pain. It's the movement, the tension, and then pain. You want to stay always below pain. That should never be painful. Point it up, relax the body, and reach down. Just like that. Again, wherever you feel it, that's where that's your end point is. You know, your key is trying to get into that toe. And then I'm going to do the other side. See it here. It's even. Goes up and forward. Just like that. So when easy, we call this the whole posterior chain. Being able to open up everything from the back. Right? That. Now see me forward. Shoulder width. Point it up. Looks up like that. And And again, more repetition, less hold. So I always recommend only holding for about 2 to 3 counts, 1,000, 2, 1,003, or repeating it several times. Sometimes that's 15 to even 30 times. And the consistency makes a difference. And now we're gonna work on those feet. One of the things that I see a lot is people get very stiff. Also, too, they get swelling in the feet. A lot of times, this is the reason why. You're tucking your feet underneath the chair. You're compressing the hamstrings on the edge of the chair, or you're really crossing up like this, position yourself poorly. And what that does, it decreases the circulation going into the lower limbs. And so a lot of times, when you're paying attention to this, you want to focus on keeping the knees level to the hips. If you're shorter, I know with women sometimes they have shorter legs, getting a stool or something to keep your feet on top of. I know a lot of times chairs are very, very nice. And so being able to make sure you keep those nice and level and even, keeping those feet flat on the ground as much as you can. Try to remember that, because again, if you're sitting, for 6, 7, 8 hours in this position, again, it's going to create a lot of muscular imbalance. It really affect you and just cause a lot of headache. All right, so we're going to get that broomstick. We're going to lay this down here, just like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by the toes, right? Start by the toes. And what this is going to do, I don't know if you guys ever heard of reflexology. And what reflexology, it works on the feet. It stimulates the feet and decreases a lot of pressure to accumulate there. It actually will wake up your body, make you feel good, and get you moving. So what you want to do here is gradually sway your hips, just like that, side to side, work your way up. And as you're doing this, you're working your way up towards the heels, towards the back of the heels. And go to where you feel comfortable, because this will get a little painful, especially you have achy feet. If you wake up every morning and it's painful to walk in the first few steps in the morning, a lot of times that can be the beginning of plantar fasciitis, and that's easy to fix. It just brings awareness, and working the feet just like this can solve that problem. Every day, get on it. Again, it should not be painful, so play around with the pressure and where you're going at. This is going to help the arch of the foot work those muscles. Plantar fasciitis, again, anything with an itis at the end of it, all that means is muscle irritation. A lot of irritation in the muscle. So bursitis, tendonitis, plantar fasciitis, all these are just irritations, but these all can be preventable from just simple things like this. And so working on that, keep making sure the hips are aligned is key. So don't be balance yourself like this or working like this. That'll help. Here. And last but not least, I say the exercise that can save your life. And so one of the things is you want to have a chair next to you here. And this is the exercise. Hold yourself up like this. Key is make sure your hips are balanced. Don't tilt up or down. And what you're going to do is you're going to first test your balance. And so what you're going to do is you're going to hold on to a chair. And you're just going to bring the leg forward wherever you want, on the side. I'll show you an example. In front, you can bring it back like this, and just hold yourself up like this. On the other side, time-wise, all you need is about a minute, minute and a half. Doing this regularly makes a big impact on the balance. One thing that we forget is how important balance is. Balance is huge. Think about why you worry about your parents as they get older, your grandparents. You worry that they're going to fall. Why? Because we forget about how important balance is. And so being able to balance makes a big impact in our future and being able to avoid injury. Sorry about that. There you go. Just make sure we're doing good on time. So that exercise can really benefit you. Again, it's only a minute a day, minute and 30. Practice it. If you have a lot of imbalance on one side, keep that side as the one you're going to focus on. Again, support yourself. Make sure you're stable. Don't hold it to where you can't do it anymore. And then using the good side, just maintain that position as well. Being able to hold in that time frame as well. We're really focusing on those balances is key. So I would recommend doing the room on the floor, working the arches of the feet, loosening the feet up, and then practicing that. Again, I always recommend evening is the best time to do these stretches. Reason for that is because, again, you're accumulating stress and tension in your body throughout the day. So you want to try to minimize or reduce it as much as you can before you go to bed. Again, Raul, I know, mentioned this about lights and trying to minimize screen time, TV. A huge part of stress on that is around the eyes. We actually have muscles around the eyeball. And so when we're focusing so much on bright things, what happens is we're contracting those muscles. And so another thing that can irritate the eyes and create headaches is, again, that tension that builds up. Because as you squeeze the eyeball, it changes direction, it changes the shape. So that constant stress creates the irritation. One of the best remedies for that is getting outside. Being able to take the time and see scenery. Because what happens when you're seeing scenery, you're not focusing so much on one thing. And so that contraction is not happening. Being able to see scenery actually relaxes the muscles around the eye. And that's why it's so great and decreases stress when people go out into nature, go out into areas, or just do walks. Being able to move, be active, makes a huge difference in how you can reduce and minimize a lot of these issues. All right, so I think my time is almost up. I want to thank you so much for the opportunity for me to share this with you. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to answer too many questions. I hope I answered some. If not, please reach out to me at The Wellness Executive. Remember, The Wellness Executive. Eric at The Wellness Executive is my email. If you have any more questions, I do a lot of corporate stuff, individual stuff. There are discounts that I will give to any HITEC member, and I'm happy to give more information in the future. Please don't hesitate to reach out. I hope you have a wonderful day. Be well and take care. Thank you so much.